Good afternoon. I'd like to welcome you to our City Council meeting this November the 17th, 2022. In the interest of time efficiency and ensuring that everyone who wishes to address the council is given the opportunity to do so, the following will apply to all comments made by the public. If you desire to be recognized by the chair, please fill out a request form and present it to the city clerk present here in council chambers. Each speaker shall be allotted 3 minutes to address the council, unless such time is extended by the mayor or by questions from council. Groups shall designate a spokesperson to avoid repetition of comments. Every effort will be made to avoid interrupting speakers. Thank you for participating in your city government. We please ask that you please silence all electronic devices. With that, I call this meeting to order. Can we all please stand together for our invocation? I'd like to welcome Pastor Leonard Thompson from Heart Cry Chapel to lead us in our invocation, and after he does so, would you please remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance?
Let's pray, please. Father God, we thank you for your provision of governmental authority to lead with order and civility in our community. We ask your blessings on the endeavors of this council in carrying out their duties. We pray for your wisdom to be imparted to them and your protection around them and their families, the city manager, staff, police and fire departments, and all other city personnel. We pray that this city council will lead this community with the principles God has established for all mankind, for the betterment of society and the enjoyment of his creation. We pray for your provision and your protection over the entire community and its citizens. In this season of Thanksgiving, we give you thanks for the blessings of freedom, and we give you all praise, honor, and glory in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Please join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. You may be seated. Before we call the roll, I'd like to welcome 2 new people to our council, newly elected. Councilmember Ken Gilbert, here to my left, and on the far side is Councilmember Sean Fletcher. We welcome you to our council. Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Mayor Blackwell?
Here.
Deputy Mayor Matheny?
Here.
Councilmember Urban?
Here.
Councilmember Gilbert?
Here.
Councilmember Fletcher?
Here.
City Manager, do we have any updates to the agenda besides the addition of a guest speaker?
Yes, Mayor. In addition to adding a presentation by John Camp from the U.S. Small Business Administration regarding disaster recovery assistance, we'd also like to switch the order of public hearings number 6 and 7.
Thank you. And it is so ordered. At this time, we'd like to welcome John Camp. He, I think, goes by Jack. It's good to have you here today. He's with the U.S. Small Business Administration, and he works with hurricane relief and aid, and we're glad to have you here.
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, my name is Jack Camp. I'm a public affairs specialist with the U.S. Small Business Administration. I'm from Atlanta, Georgia, and I'm here tonight to talk to you about disaster assistance. A lot of people don't realize that in a disaster, the Small Business Administration helps homeowners and renters as well as small businesses that have been impacted by a disaster. In fact, SBA's disaster loan program plays a crucial role in FEMA's disaster assistance process. Most people, when they register with FEMA, will be referred to the Small Business Administration for a loan. If your income is above a certain level, basically the poverty level, you're going to be referred to SBA. Anyone below that level will be considered for all of FEMA's grant programs. Now, the ones that are referred to SBA will be considered for most of the grant programs, but some will be reserved depending on the outcome of the SBA application. If SBA cannot offer somebody a loan, then we'll send them back to FEMA, and there may be additional loan funds available to them. If we can offer them a loan, we've got a great loan program for them. Our interest rates for this disaster for homeowners are about 2.2% for up to 30 years for most people, which is really a great deal with mortgage rate's currently at around 7%. You can't beat that, and this is a fixed rate. There's no cost to apply for the loan, and you don't have to take a loan if one is offered. Homeowners can borrow up to $200,000 for their uninsured losses. And homeowners and renters can borrow up to $40,000. Businesses, we also offer businesses. Now, there are no grants for businesses, so all of your businesses are going to be referred to the Small Business Administration. And we have loans up to $2 million for your businesses. These can cover both physical and economic losses. We can cover things like real estate, machinery and equipment, inventory, anything that you've lost. In addition to that, we can cover working capital losses if your business has been interrupted. There's, excuse me, sorry. And there's no requirement that someone applying for economic injury or for the working capital loan have physical losses. There's some other aspects of the program that are really good and powerful tools for your economic recovery. We can help people with relocation if they need to. We can help some people with refinancing. And another part of our program that I'm really excited about that can help you with your community resilience is our mitigation program, where when we approve a loan for somebody, we can increase the loan amount by up to 20% for a mitigation improvement device. These loans are available for a limited time. Right now, the filing deadline for physical damages is November the 28th. And to apply, first of all, you need to register with FEMA at disasterassistance.gov or call them at 1-800-659-2955. Once you've registered with FEMA, you can apply with SBA at disasterloanassistance.sba.gov. You can also call us at 1-800-659-2955. Additionally, you can visit us at any FEMA or SBA center. There are centers located throughout the state, throughout the declared disaster area, and at any FEMA or SBA center, there will be SBA personnel there that can help you with a disaster loan application. The nearest ones, of course, are in Kissimmee at the Hart Memorial Library, and if you're probably aware, we're going to open up a temporary center tomorrow at the Veterans Memorial Library right around the corner, and I'll be happy to answer any questions you have.
Do you have any statistics to share with us how much assistance has already been pursued or given here in St. Cloud and or Osceola County?
Okay, well, let's see. Now, I didn't bring the St. Cloud numbers with me, but we have, for Osceola County, we've approved 220 loans for $9.5 million. So we put a considerable amount of money throughout the county.
Thank you. Anyone here on council would like to ask a question? Our city manager would like to speak.
Thank you, Mayor. Mr. Camp, when we met this week, I mentioned that our downtown construction project was delayed due to the hurricane. You mentioned that our businesses may be eligible for the economic injury disaster loans based on that delay. Could you talk about that a little bit?
Certainly, yes. All you have to do is demonstrate that you have a economic downturn, a substantial economic downturn that is a direct result of the disaster. So, whereas the delay itself wasn't part of the hurricane, it was due to the hurricane. So, yes, that would be an eligible reason to apply for one of our working capital loans. And you don't have to have physical damage in order to do that. We will look at what you have done as a result of the disaster and compare it to what you did last year or you could have or should have done. If you didn't have any physical damage, it's a little more involved analysis, but yes, it is still there available for you.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you very much. We appreciate your presentation today. We appreciate all that the Small Business Administration is doing to help those who have been impacted by the storm.
Thank you, Mayor Bradley.
Thank you. At this time, we have a presentation by the Economic Development Division regarding the quarterly economic development report. Ms. Forbes.
Good evening, Antoinette Forbes, Economic Development Manager. I just wanted to first start by answering the mayor's question in reference to how much funding St. Cloud has received in terms from the SBA for disaster assistance. So as of November 14th, the SBA has approved 23 disaster loans totaling $699,100, and 22 of them have been home loans and 1 business loan to date for $40,700.
Thank you.
It also should be known that any business that's interested, they can also get assistance through our SBDC office, which is located in our chamber, I'm having a blank. This is the Chamber of Commerce, thank you, building, which is, the gentleman's there every Thursday.
Thank you.
So with that, I will start my quarterly report. So what I usually try to do for our new members is break it down through business attraction versus business retention efforts. So we'll start by showing you some of the BTRs that registered for the last quarter. You'll see that there is a huge shift, or I won't call it a shift, but there's a huge portion of those BTRs are service-oriented. That is consistent throughout the year. They are primarily service and retail BTRs that we've been receiving for BTRs. Also, to date, year to date, we've done 216 cases of business assistance. Business assistance is when we reach out to a business, we welcome them into the city of St. Cloud and offer them one-on-one opportunity to get either financial, technical, or even just B2B referrals to other businesses. It's where we reach out to them or businesses reach out to us for assistance. Recruitment leads is where, again, where either a developer reaches out to us or we reach out to them to find out if they're interested in relocating their business to St. Cloud. Those business leads come through several ways. Some of them are cold calling. Some of them are through our relationships with the OEP as well as with Osceola County. So they come many ways, but year to date, we've done 22 cases. And some of those cases have also resulted in responses to RFPs that's been issued for developers looking to relocate into Central Florida. So on the business attraction side, we have started hosting a series of site selector webinars. This is, again, to get some of the corporate relocators to look at St. Cloud as a potential destination location. And so we worked with Dave Farmer, who is a principal with Metro Forecasting. He has a continuing services contract through the Community Development Department. And so he offered his expert opinion on our population growth, and what we asked him to do is tie it to how that growth equates to the need for commercial development, and that's exactly what he did. So he talked about as the city's population will approach 70,000 and 100,000 in the JPA, that now's the time for commercial investment. We had 22 site selectors that attended that meeting. He also talked about by the year 2040, we would need approximately 1 million square feet of industrial uses in terms of space, and that we also would need 3 times the amount of present commercial supply, which would be our hotels, retail, restaurants. In terms of business retention, we offered a webinar about government contracting. So one of the things we notice when we meet with our businesses is they want to know how to get a city contract. And so what we try to educate them on is there's many types of government contracts, not just with the city, but federal and state. And so every so often, we like to host these webinars in conjunction with our resource providers to help our businesses understand that there's a wealth of vendor opportunities that's available. And they also offer, set-asides, and it helps them, if they are a certified business, again, to get awarded those contracts. We did that in conjunction with PTAC, which stands for Procurement Technical Assistance Center, as well as with the SBDC, the Small Business Development Center. So St. Cloud's moniker is the Soldier City, and we thought it was important that we really try to recruit our veterans to become our next level of entrepreneurs. And so we partnered with the VEI, which stands for Veteran Entrepreneurship Initiative. It was founded and it's operated by 3 veterans. They are funded in partnership with the University of Central Florida. Their goal is to help veterans become entrepreneurs, or help veteran-owned businesses scale up to become more successful. So to date, they have helped over 300 veteran entrepreneurs. They have 146 graduates of their program. They have helped create over 200 jobs and have helped their veteran-owned businesses acquire more than $17 million in annual revenue. They hosted their very first St. Cloud launch program back on October the 29th. They had 13 participants, and 8 of those were veterans, so it's a good start. That program is being funded completely through the City of St. Cloud, and it does not cost our veterans any money. Also, in the month of September, because of the construction, we started noticing that some of our businesses may be in need of assistance, and so we offered downtown marketing grants. And those grants were to aid our businesses in helping promote more customer frequency. And so through the council, we were able to authorize up to $50,000. There were $1,000 awards each. We distributed 30 awards. Here are a list of all of the businesses that received that award. Again, into the downtown, we also started our economic gardening program. That was something we did at the tail end of last fiscal year. So through the council, we had allocated, I think, $190,000. Under that program, we offer utility assistance. That utility assistance, we took the average 2 months bill of all of the 96 businesses that are in the entertainment district, and we issued credits through the utility providers. So we paid $21,925 to OUC and $10,264 to Toho, and that went directly applied to the businesses. We also partner with the Main Street program for Cloud Cash, up to $100,000, and they sold out of Cloud Cash in less than, I think, 3 weeks. The Growth Wheel program was a technical assistance program, and that's, again, to aid our businesses, and not just financially, but now how do we help them pivot in their operations so they're able to find other sources of income, able to reevaluate their supply, and see if there's ways that they can reduce their inventory or perhaps modify their operations. We've had success in that in the past, and the previous graduates have shown that they're able to raise their revenue, net revenue, by 10%. So we are encouraging our downtown businesses to participate in it. Again, that's something that we are paying for. The Growth Wheel program is funded through UCF, through the Business Incubator, and that program is still open and will remain open through this year. Up to, I think, 10 businesses can participate. The other thing, component of this gardening program that's not listed is the shuttle. The shuttle is something that we were and are still working on to accomplish. We had went and got the appropriate amount of vendors, and we were then making sure that they were in compliance with our procurement policy and that they had met our insurance requirements. I believe we're still doing some background work on that, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know if you want to comment on that now, or you want to wait till?
Sure, if I can.
Absolutely.
So when the city council authorized the use of the city council's professional services budget for the economic gardening program, we had to reserve a PO before October 1st so that we could use the money. Unfortunately, as we were moving forward with that vendor, they became non-responsive, and we've had to move to the third person on the list. But I no longer have those funds secured. So I'd like to ask if the city council would support, again, using, it was just under $25,000 out of your professional services budget to continue the shuttle service that you had previously approved.
Are there any objections? Any objections? No objections, so that means you have our support.
Thank
So
you.
Go ahead.
Thank you. Lastly, just want to let you know some of the things that we're working on in our spare time. So our economic development microsite, the website, the format has now been prepared. We're now populating it with data. Hopefully we'll have that to you by the time our next quarterly update. Our 2023 Economic Summit, which is tentatively scheduled for February of next year in conjunction with the Chamber of Commerce. We temporarily postponed our hotel recruitment webinar because it came right at the same time as Hurricane Ian. And that is in partnership with Experience Kissimmee, and so we are working to reschedule that. We're also working on implementing our 5-year strategic financing plan for the CRA. We are also working in conjunction with the VFW on their remodeling program. They are more than 50% complete on that construction project. Of course, there's the downtown Phase 2 revitalization project, which is Pennsylvania Avenue, which the CRA is contributing a portion. We are also working on conducting FAM tours, which is site familiarization tours. You do that with site selectors in order for them to actually put their boots on the ground and see what it is, what land is available in St. Cloud and what the potential is. We would do that in partnership with our chambers. And then Olaf the Park was unfortunately rescheduled and because of Hurricane Ian, and then it was pushed outside of St. Cloud onto Icon Park, but for November 27th, if I'm not mistaken. So there are some of the projects that we're working on. I am available for any questions.
Do we have any questions from the council? Thank you for that update, and thank you for all the work that you're doing. Keep it up. The next part of our agenda is the Citizens Forum. Any person who desires to comment on any item not on this agenda is provided this opportunity to address the City Council. Each person is requested to complete a signing form to be provided to the presiding officer prior to or as soon as is practical thereafter the person addresses the council. When you come forward, please state your name and address for the record, and we ask that you will please limit your comments to 3 minutes. Trevor Estelle.
Richard Trevor Estelle, 1018 Pennsylvania Avenue, St. Cloud. First, I would like to say we appreciate everything that economic development has done to try to help us downtown. But quite frankly, I feel like a character from a Dickens novel right now coming forward and saying, please, sir, may we have another? It has become absolutely dire with these postponements in the construction. I have been one of the most ardent supporters of this project. I have the strongest belief that the outcome is going to be very beneficial for downtown, for our image, for our economy. We are dying a slow and painful death. I have lost numerous employees because they can no longer afford to work here. Many of our employees in this area rely on tips in addition to their wages. And most of us pay higher than required wage by a considerable amount. But when your income goes from $35 to $38 an hour on average to 22 to 23, it becomes very difficult, especially when it's not, most of them have other jobs elsewhere. These are positions to help support their families, to add additional funds to their homes. And for us personally, it's devastating to lose good people. And these continued delays, and I know the council's well aware of it, and I know that our hands are tied in some degree. But there has to be something that we can do to get some pressure on this, to get them to move. The citizens notice that there are days, if not weeks, that go by that they don't see anybody out there working, or you have 1 or 2 people out there working. And again, I've been one of the most ardent supporters of this project, and I'm like, no, I see people out there. They're just there at different times of the day. But then the question gets posed to me, why are there only 2 guys working on Pennsylvania and nobody working on 10th? The delays continue. And I know there's a plan in process or a question in process about how to proceed, but please understand, we are a little apprehensive with any promises from Cathcart at this point. They give you all an update, that update gets released through the PIO, and 2 days later, Cathcart's telling us, we can't meet that deadline. It's going to be another 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks. It has crippled us. It is crippling the downtown economy, and many are not going to survive if we do not do something extensive quickly. We appreciate the marketing grants. It helps. We appreciate the other services that have been provided. It helps. But I can speak for my business. We're down 70% year over year. The last 2 months, Our operational expenses have come out of pockets through loans that I've been able to obtain. I have an EIDL loan from COVID coming due November 28th. I can't make it. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Richard. Don't hardly know what to say. I know that the city and the staff are doing everything in their power to accommodate and move that project along, and we'll continue to put the pressure on the developer and everything else that we can do, but it's just a lot of challenges that we've been facing trying to overcome. Deborah Delaney Mullet.
I believe two council members were trying
Oh,
to.
I'm sorry, I didn't see the question. Councilmember Trace, they got to change my buttons here.
I would like to ask the city manager, what are some of the options that we have down there? Is there anything else that we can do at this point? Is there any money as far as more cloud cash or any type of extension of grant programs, things like that? Where are we at with that?
So there's not currently another economic gardening program with funding allocated. Cloud Cash was through the partnership with Main Street. We did use the city council's professional services budget that I had just mentioned a few minutes ago. If the city council wanted to use that budget for additional economic gardening, that is available. I would probably need to talk to legal. Don't know if Main Street would be interested in another round of Cloud Cash. I know we gave them a large amount of money, which meant they had a lot of extra work. I heard about that many times. But we're so appreciative of what they did. I do know that as soon as the Cloud Cash started, I did receive phone calls from business owners and emails, telling me that they were seeing an immediate impact. We, as the city, started ordering food from the downtown businesses, trying to support them a little bit more, and doing anything we could in the meantime, any giveaways, things like that. We've been trying to support those businesses. I don't have any other funding allocated for it. Antoinette did actually give me the nod to give the update on the timing, and I told you only about the shuttle, and I failed to finish with that update if I could right now. So earlier this week, we did get notice from Cathcart that they were going to have to extend the timeline again. It was a little shocking when they told us the amount of time, and we said that wasn't acceptable. We needed additional options. We needed them to go back, sharpen their pencils. So they did come forward and talk to us with some additional options. The plan, if we continue as it's currently going, would have the downtown construction Pennsylvania was supposed to be open in time for the parade, December 2nd. I think the parade's on the 3rd. I think it was going to be open on the 2nd. Now it would be open December 16th. Pennsylvania would be open just December 16th from 10th to 12th, and from 12th to 13th would be partially open. From 9th to 10th would be December 9th. 10th Street, though, is going to be extended from Massachusetts to Florida Avenue, not opening up until February 8th. The other options, we discussed included closing 10th Street, both lanes, to shorten that time frame like they've done with Pennsylvania. It also included, what if we pause and let these businesses continue throughout the Christmas holidays and then start again in February? That was an additional cost of $783,000. I met with the downtown business group this afternoon and showed them the options, and they preferred for us to continue moving ahead with the current schedule because they wanted to have spring back in order downtown. I reached out to Main Street also, and I'm sorry, I spoke with a couple members of the downtown business group board, and two of them have businesses on Pennsylvania. Then I reached out to Paula Stark from Main Street. She is concerned about the businesses on Pennsylvania not being not having the construction done prior to Christmas, but she didn't have an opportunity to meet with her board, so she couldn't tell me a preference. But the Downtown Business Group did want us to continue moving forward. That's all the information I have.
Councilmember Urban.
Yeah, so thank you. I think the ultimate solution here is to get this done as quickly as possible. And talking to several business owners downtown, I think they would like to see it just carry on and get done as soon as possible. My question would be these dates, these new dates that they've given us, what recourse do we have to hold them to these dates? It seems like from the beginning they've been delaying, and I understand we've had some circumstances such as hurricanes and other things that have come up, but are we able to hold them to these dates? If we tell them to continue on, can we guarantee that it would be done at that time?
Well, I'd like to point out that they've told me they've never had another job where they have found so many abandoned pipes underground. We found 2 abandoned gas tanks that were 90-something years old that had fuel that we hit. So and the hurricane. So there were some legitimate delays, and there's been conflicts that they've waited for the city to deliver on those conflicts. But regarding the legal of holding them liable, I will rely on our attorney and our public works director who's familiar with the contract.
Mr. Mazeros.
I think at this point, they've been on this project long enough that most of these undiscovered conflicts that we're talking about should have at least been revealed by now. So I think one of the options that we do have now is to go back to them, is to tighten up the substantial completion dates, address it, and try to stick with the terms of the contract related. To date, unfortunately, they have had what would be considered reasonable and reasons for the delays due to some of the conflicts that the city manager referred to, as well as the hurricane. But I think at this point, most of that stuff may be behind us, and it's now we can probably tighten up some of those completion dates and try to add a little bit more teeth. These contracts do have damages provisions in the case that they don't make the substantial completion date. But again, that all depends on how the project progresses. And right now, it seems that they do have legitimate reasons, or arguably legitimate reasons, for the delays.
Councilmember Matheny.
Thank you. I empathize with you completely downtown, and I keep hearing the same thing, like there's no workers, like there's nobody down there, and then I talk to the city, and then I'm told there are workers. So I believe Mr. Estill sees it every day and standing right in the middle of it. So today, I know the city manager did a lot of work trying to come up with ideas of ways to expedite it, and when I looked at it, I was like, just get it done. Just get it done. Just do everything you can. Do everything you can. I said, can we incentivize them to expedite it? Right now, supposedly they're working 6 days a week. I'm like, have them work 7 days a week. Have them work 2 shifts. Have them do something to expedite it. I did find out that Cathcart had a crew on a county job that ended yesterday. So then that means potentially there's more crew available to put them down here. And I'm going to say something. I know the attorney's going to look at me like that.
I already am.
I mean, is there a possibility to put city staff out there from the streets and drainage to help? I mean, if I know on some of my projects, it's terrible right now to try and do construction, right? You got delays in materials, you got nobody wants to come to work, you've got the whole gamut, right? And so it's like, I'm having this on a lot of my things, but could we, instead of, I mean, I don't want to do a temporary hiatus and temporary asphalt. I just think that's wasted money and prolonging the agony. Is there a way to incentivize? I know they have liquidated damages on their contract, but it's not that easy to get to the liquidated damages, and it sounds like they've got a laundry list of unforeseens and I heard they have a change order in right now that basically negates the liquidated damages. But I mean, I would like to see if we could incentivize, expediting it. The other thing I talked to the city manager about was, next week is Thanksgiving. Are they going to take the whole week off? Could we talk to them about, no, they need to work every day except Thursday? I mean, I know that stinks, but we got to get this done, and we got to get the roads open and the businesses help. So.
I think the incentivized option is a good option. I think at this point, that might be the best way to be able to address it, if it does point it out. Having staff, city staff, employees out there, there's probably an option to self-perform some of the work out there, but I think that might be add some continued conflicts when you get with supervision, and in case there's a problem with any of the work, whether from a warranty perspective or an issue after the project, whether they start pointing the finger at the part that the city staff was working on. So I think your best option is to try to get it done, and it may end up costing the city some more money under the contract, but it might get the contract moving forward and get it completed sooner.
So I guess I'll ask the question because this always comes back when I bring it up later. Did the other council members, are you open to the idea of incentivizing?
Absolutely.
Okay, looks
So
like you got at
what's-
least three.
We do, so I guess what we would do, and I don't know if Kevin or someone who's more familiar with the funds in the contract, whether you want to add another 10% contingency to the contract that would allow the city manager to negotiate that, I don't know. I'm just
Whatever
throwing
we
out.
need to do
but I
to
think she
take
need-
the financial situation out of it so you can make
Well, she
your
needs,
decision.
she's going to need some direction, I think, on that piece. And I don't know. I don't know the scope of the financial piece for the project well enough. I just throw out that figure. I don't know if Kevin can help with that.
Kevin, do you have any?
I know the project has funds available, the project itself.
Yeah, we currently have only used about 3% of the contingency, so we have about 7% of the contingency left right now for the project, which is in the $600,000 to $700,000 range is what we currently have left in contingency. With all the hiccups we've had so far, that's about where we're at right now.
I will say, I've told them before, I'll pay the overtime, and they've, they have said that's, we'll work on an incentive. I'm just letting you know, I have tried that before, so.
Okay. Continue to do so.
Will
Do you need any other authorization from us? Mr.
No, I don't
Mayor?
think so. I think
Okay.
if the contingency amount is enough to at least get started on it, you do have another meeting in early December or so.
Well-
If you had to, it'd come back there too. But I think that should be enough.
And so I think, this has not been a neglected issue. This has been an issue that we've been dealing with. But again, you got 2 hurricanes, you got gas tanks found to the ground, supply issues. It's just been a challenge, and so a lot of unexpected. We'll continue to work, and we have made it priority, and we'll continue to make it a bigger priority. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, may I take one moment to share
I'll give you 1 minute.
That's all I need. With regard to the gas tanks, I have spoken with Cathcart representatives on that. I've also spoken with the owners of the property. The owners of the property made Cathcart aware that those tanks were there, and they were told, no, we checked it, they're not there. And when I inquired about it, they said, well, it's the city's responsibility for any GPR or underground investigation. So this was postponed through whatever reason, but we're getting conflicting stories. And this is where a majority of my frustration is coming from. We get one report from Cathcart, but they tell you all something completely different. So that's just one example, but thank you.
Just to respond, I also heard that, and I did challenge them with that on Tuesday this week. And I told them I would be coming back with the names of the business owners who say they told Cathcart, because I had heard it, but I hadn't written down who had told me. So, Mr. Estill, you're going to have to remind me of specific names and who at Cathcart they told, because I did go down that rabbit hole.
Thank you, Councilman Fletcher.
I'm still learning the button.
All right, thank you. Councilman Urban.
Are there any other economic gardening opportunities that, in the meantime, maybe that could be offered to the downtown businesses, such as another round of Cloud Cash or something that would help in the meantime?
I think you were asking if there was any other additional economic
sorry.
gardening that we could do. We could try to see if we could do another Cloud Cash after the new year. The current one ends December 31st.
Correct. Under the current cloud cash, it has to be spent by December 31st, and we haven't received the invoice back from Main Street to reimburse them for this round here. But it's my understanding that they are receiving some county funds as well, Main Street, in order to do cloud cash again, I think in the spring or something, but it won't be to the level that the city contributed. And also in response to the question, yes, we can always come up with some sort of programming in terms of economic gardening, but we need funding to go with it.
I'm sure you'll bring back any ideas that you can.
We'll bring back the economic gardening, and again, we have the city council professional services budget that we could use.
All right. Thank you. Moving on, Deborah Delaney Mullet. Forgive me for the delay.
Good evening, council and residents. I live at 3303 Calusa Court in the Mark Park, and I am the president of the Homeowners Association. And we met with representatives for some of the building and infrastructure issues we have in our community earlier this summer. And we're supposed to be working on a meeting that should have occurred first in August, then in September, then in October, and we just had our HOA meeting today with none of the representatives. Our immediate needs are the speed along Arizona Avenue, access to Arizona Avenue off of 13th Street and the speed there, the collapsing of the culverts along Arizona Avenue, and in determining whether it is our park or the city is responsible for that. So we have fire, safety, mobility issues in our community, and I have been calling, leaving emails. I don't think your email system works through the internet. I've gotten no response in the last 2 days, and so I started leaving voicemails, and then here I am tonight. So you promised earlier this year that we would get things done. Mr. Sturgeon promised it wouldn't fall through the cracks when the new city manager was appointed, yet here I am tonight. So we need some help. We are voting members of this community. We are elderly people on fixed incomes, and we have very limited opportunities to meet with the people that own the property. And so we've already had that meeting without knowing what the community support will be for us. So we have until next year to get it done, but we need to start working now. That community is in great disrepair, and we need some help from our city leaders.
Kevin?
Thank you.
Thank you.
If I could, while he's speaking,
Please.
That's the first I had heard of it, so I will work with Kevin and with the residents and get those answers, and I'll follow up and give you an update on what happens.
Thank you very much. That's what we need. Would anyone else desire to speak during the citizens forum? If not, we'll move on. The next item is our consent agenda. The next portion of the meeting is the consent agenda, which contains items that have been determined to be routine and non-controversial. If anyone in the audience wishes to address a particular item on the consent agenda, now is the opportunity for you to do so. Additionally, if staff or members of the city council wish to speak on a consent item, they have the same opportunity. I'll ask, first of all, are there any items on the consent agenda that the council are wishing to address? If not, is anyone in the audience wishing to speak to the consent agenda? If not, could I entertain discussion or a motion by council?
So moved.
We have a motion from Councilmember Matheny, a second from the mayor. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Deputy Mayor Matheny.
Aye.
Councilmember Urban.
Aye.
Councilmember Gilbert.
Aye.
Councilmember Fletcher. Mayor Blackwell.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0.
The next portion of tonight's meeting is the public hearings. Madam Clerk, will you please read items 1, 2, and 3?
Final public hearing for ordinance number 2022-53, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of St. Cloud, Florida, to annex into the City of St. Cloud approximately 3.17 acres identified as KSI Professional, located north of Maydew Court, south of Nolte Road, and west of Michigan Avenue, in accordance with the voluntary annexation provisions of Chapter 171.044 Florida statutes. Final public hearing for ordinance number 2022-54, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of St. Cloud, Florida, assigning a future land use designation institutional to approximately 3.17 acres identified as KSI Professional located south of Nolte Road, west of Michigan Avenue, and north of Maydew Court, providing for amending of the official future land use map of the comprehensive plan, filing of the Planning Commission, recommendation and proof of publication, applicability and effect, suburbility, copies on files, and effective date.
I believe we're missing the clicker.
No,
No?
no.
Okay. Sorry.
Was the order, I thought that the order that was different for the item.
Number 6 and 7.
That's 6 and 7.
Okay, all right.
Final public hearing for ordinance number 2022-55, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of St. Cloud, Florida, providing for the zoning amendment of the zoning map of the Land Development Code of the City of St. Cloud, Florida, specifically changing the zoning designation of approximately 3.17 acres identified as KSI Professional from R-2 Rural Settlement County to a P Professional City zoning designation with a private institutional future land use designation adopted by ordinance number 2022-54, generally located south of Nolte Road, west of Michigan Avenue, and north of Maydew Court, providing for entering the designation of the official zoning map, filing of the Planning Commission recommendation, and proof of publication, suburbility, and effective date.
Good afternoon, Council. My name is Dagmary Segarra. I'm the Planning Manager. Tonight is the final hearing for a annexation and a comprehensive plan amendment and a zoning amendment for a property located at South Nolte Road and west of Michigan Avenue. The property consists of approximately 3.17 acres in size. In the previous presentation on the last City Council on October 27, it was recommended by the City Council to recommend approval of all 3 ordinances. The City Council approve all 3 ordinances, and this is a second hearing for final adoption, and staff recommends approval. This concludes my presentation. If you have any questions, I'll be more than happy to
Is the
answer them.
applicant here? Would the applicant like to speak to these items?
Good evening. My name is Bruce Taylor, 131 East 13th Street, the applicant's representative, and I'm here to answer any questions if you have any.
All right, if you'll
Thank you.
stand by. Would anyone in the audience like to speak to any of these items? If not, do we have any question or discussion from council? If not, could I entertain a motion for item number 1, ordinance number 2022-53?
So moved.
We have a motion for the adoption from Councilmember Matheny. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second from Councilmember Gilbert. Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Councilmember Urban.
Aye.
Councilmember Gilbert.
Aye.
Councilmember Fletcher.
Aye.
Deputy Mayor Matheny.
Aye.
Mayor Blackwell.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0.
Could I entertain a motion for the adoption of ordinance number 2022-54?
Motion to approve.
We have a motion from Councilmember Urban, a second from Councilmember Matheny. Madam Clerk?
Councilmember Gilbert.
Aye.
Councilmember Fletcher.
Aye.
Deputy Mayor Matheny.
Aye.
Councilmember Urban.
Aye.
Mayor Blackwell.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0.
Could I entertain a motion for the adoption of the final ordinance 2022-55?
So moved.
A motion from Councilmember Matheny, a second from the mayor. Madam Clerk?
Councilmember Fletcher.
Aye.
Deputy Mayor Matheny.
Aye.
Councilmember Urban.
Aye.
Councilmember Gilbert.
Aye.
Mayor Blackwell.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0.
Brings us to item number 4, Madam Clerk.
Final public hearing for ordinance number 2022-57, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of St. Cloud, Florida, amending Article 2 definitions, Sections 2.1.1, amending Article 3 zoning regulations, amending Table 3-5 of the Land Development Code, amending the Table 3-7 of the Land Development Code, amending Division 20 Supplemental District Regulations, Sections 3.20.38, Communication Tower Facility Regulations of the Land Development Code, providing for suburbility, conflict, and effective date.
Mayor, Council, Dave Tomac with the City Manager's Office. We went over this at first reading. If you would like to see the presentation again, I'd be happy to do it for you. I just want to make sure to put on the record that between the first reading and tonight's meeting, I did meet with the Chamber of Commerce's Economic Development Committee to go over the ordinance for cell towers, and we got an email from them with their full support.
Thank you very much. Would anyone in the audience like to speak to this item? If not, we'll have discussion and a motion by council.
So moved.
We have a motion from Councilmember Matheny. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second from Councilmember Fletcher. Madam Clerk?
Deputy Mayor Matheny.
Aye.
Councilmember Urban.
Aye.
Councilmember Gilbert.
Aye.
Councilmember Fletcher.
Aye.
Mayor Blackwell.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0.
Madam Clerk, will you please read item number 5?
Final public hearing for ordinance number 2022-62, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of St. Cloud, Florida, closing, vacating, and abandoning the platted right-of-way located west of Betsy Ross Lane and south of Neptune Road, specifically described in the body of this ordinance, providing for suburbility, conflict, and effective date.
Good evening, Mayor, council members. Erin Stark, Transportation Manager. The case before you tonight, ABN 220003, is a proposal for vacating the right-of-way that runs through the Neptune Elementary school site. The background of this is that the property is located west of Betsy Ross Lane, south of Neptune Road. They're requesting to vacate 5 sections of old platted way in the Taliga Manor plat. This is the criteria that was reviewed when we went through with other utility providers evaluating the request, and we have received no objections from utility providers. It meets the strategic plan goals of infrastructure, and we're recommending approval of ordinance number 2022-62, and staff has on August 10th, 2022. You all heard this, the first reading, on October 27th, and this is the second reading, and we're recommending approval. I'm here if you have any questions for me.
Thank you. Is the applicant wishing to speak to this? Would anyone in the audience like to speak to this item? If not, we'll have discussion and motion by council. Councilmember Matheny.
Thank you. So when I saw this, I wasn't at the last council meeting, but when I saw the agenda item, it made me think of the stacking problem that we have inside of Anthem for the people going to the school. And, you know, when that development came in, we went round and round about making sure that there was some avenue to create stacking, to get it off the road, because it's, you know, really a problem. I know they can't let them onto the school because of, I think Jessica Lunsford, is that it, that they lock the gates. But anyways, could you provide an update on where we are with that solution to, because we need to expedite that and
Sure.
get that going?
We, this evaluation of this right-of-way request, this was submitted by the school board, of course, because it's their property. In the evaluation of the site plan for the parent loop that is in review with city staff, we noticed that there was an additional right-of-way that needed to be vacated. But because this vacation of right-of-way supports the Neptune widening project, we're advancing this request as is so that we can get this across the finish line. And we just received an application yesterday for the right-of-way vacation. They had to go through additional approvals of authorization, and we just received that application for the additional right-of-way abandonment. The site development plan for the actual parent loop construction, we've received a resubmittal based on comments. Those should have gone out or are going out in the next day or so. We anticipate one more resubmittal. I've been on the phone all week working on solutions to conditionally approve that site development plan prior to the right-of-way being vacated so that we can authorize them to continue to move forward with construction. School board doesn't even have that information yet, but I've worked with the Public Works Director on a conditional approval that'll allow them to proceed so that we can go through the public hearing process for that last piece of right-of-way.
And so, thank you for that update. And so I see the school boards here.
Oh.
And I believe when we went through the, all of the discussions with the development in Anthem, the funding was earmarked already, right? So it's like we're just waiting on the plans? Is that what we're waiting on? The funding is available. Okay. So, city staff, I'm asking my other council members to give me 2 more votes to say, please expedite this.
No problem.
We will
are-
do it.
We're working on it.
Please.
We understand, we heard from their engineer that their goal is to be under construction during the Christmas break. Makes a lot of
Wonderful.
sense, right? So our goal is to meet that timeline.
Wonderful. And I like the idea of kind of tying the two together to kind of keep it carrot and stick, you know? So with that, I'll make a motion to approve.
Second. We have a motion from Councilmember Athenia, a second from Councilmember Gilbert for the adoption of 2022-62. Madam Clerk?
Councilmember Urban.
Aye.
Councilmember Gilbert.
Aye.
Councilmember Fletcher.
Aye.
Deputy Mayor Matheny. Mayor Blackwell.
Aye.
The motion carries 5-0.
Brings us to items 6 and 7. If you'll please read item 7 first and then item 6
First reading.
second, and then we will consider them in that order. Thank you.
First reading and introduction for ordinance number 2022-47, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of St. Cloud, Florida, assigning a future land use designation, MDR, medium-density residential to approximately 13.98 acres identified as Hickory Creek, located south of Highway 192, west of Old Hickory Tree Road, north of Nolte Road, east of Orange Avenue, providing for amending of the official future land use map of the comprehensive plan, filing of the Planning Commission, recommendation of proof of publication, applicability and effect, suburbility, copies on file, and effective date. First reading and introduction for ordinance number 2022-46, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of St. Cloud, Florida, providing for the zoning amendment of the zoning map of the Land Development Code of the City of St. Cloud, Florida, specifically changing the zoning designation of approximately 13.98 acres identified as Hickory Creek from R-1B single-family dwelling to R-3 multi-family dwelling zoning designation with an MDR medium-density future land use designation adopted by ordinance number 2022-47, generally located south of Highway 192, west of Old Hickory Tree Road, north of Nolte Road, east of Orange Avenue, providing for the entering the designation of the official zoning map, filing of the Planning Commission, recommendation and proof of publication, suburbility, and effective date.
Good evening, Melissa Dunklin, Community Development Director. The request before you tonight is for the future land use and zoning map amendment for 13.98 acres known as Hickory Creek. A little background, back in August, this case was heard and the council acted to deny the first reading of the ordinance, which essentially denied the zoning map amendment. In response, the applicant filed a lawsuit challenging the city council's de facto denial of the zoning map amendment. The applicant and staff have met on several occasions to come to a consensus on conditions for a development agreement that will be discussed at the end of the presentation. And so the applicant has revised their proposed plans to help meet the request of city staff to have their infrastructure improvements and design changes that will hopefully and are intended to substantially enhance the community. So the existing future land use is low-density residential, and the existing zoning is R1B. The proposed or requested land use is medium-density residential, and the proposed zoning is R3 multifamily dwelling. The development is compatible with the surrounding area and will have no adverse impacts on city facilities. Here's a representation, a graphic representation of the future land use and zoning maps. Here's the concept plan that was submitted to city staff in order to have a precursory review so that we could come up with conditions that we would agree on. This request meets the strategic plan goal for growth management. Okay. On June 16th, 2022, The DRC and staff recommended approval of both ordinances, one with the condition that a development agreement will be executed and presented at the final public hearing. So the second hearing that is tentatively scheduled for December 8th at this time. Planning Commission also recommended approval. Okay. Here are the conditions that we are considering for the ZMA, I'm sorry, for the development agreement that will be brought forward with the ZMA's second hearing. So we're working with the applicant to provide a rear-loaded product type with the 2-story maximum. We requested that they add a non-monotony clause and dedicate the remaining right-of-way for 19th Street and match the mixed-use district's cross-sections to improve the local road, to improve the road to urban local road standards. We're also requesting that they dedicate the remaining right-of-way for Old Hickory Tree Road and match the framework street requirements from Osceola County. We are requesting that they design the alleys to meet the requirements of the Land Development Code, provide local road connections from the intersection of Old Hickory Tree Road and Jan Land to Road Bridge Mixed Use District. We're asking them to coordinate with Osceola County regarding potential signalization either at 19th Street or Jan Land with the traffic signal warrant analysis for the combined regional traffic capacity needs. Internal roadway or alley connection to 19th Street, provide safe pedestrian connectivity to Hickory Tree Elementary and safe crossing of Old Hickory Tree Road, provide renderings of their product types by the second hearing, and meet the open space, pedestrian and bicycle connectivity, and amenities required by the code. Okay. The applicant is requesting approval of the ordinances shown before you, and the applicants are here and available for any questions, and so is staff.
Thank you. Would the applicant like to speak?
Good evening. Thank you, Mayor, Deputy Mayor, council members. My name is Mike Colazzo. I'm an attorney with the Pennington Law Firm in Tallahassee, and I'm here tonight on behalf of the applicant. I know you have a full agenda, so I'll keep my comments brief. Since we were last before you in August, my client has been engaged with the city staff regarding the concerns raised by the council at the meeting in August. We believe our conversations with staff have been very productive. We've worked hard to address council's concerns as expressed in the August meeting. We agree with the conditions that were already presented, and I won't get into detail with those unless you have any questions. But one item that I wanted to mention is that we have prepared a traffic impact analysis, and we actually received that late yesterday. Because we really wanted to understand what the potential traffic impacts from the project might be. So even though it's not usually required at this stage, we had it prepared. Based on the analysis, Old Hickory Tree Road is currently meeting level of service standards for capacity, and it'll continue to meet level of service standards for capacity at project build-out. Also, the intersection of Old Hickory Tree Road and Jan Land Boulevard will also meet the level of service standards for intersections at project build-out. So we anticipate no traffic problems being caused by the project. Again, we will continue to work with staff between now and hopefully, if you vote to proceed, December 8th on the development agreement and those proposed conditions. We think the commitments will result in a better overall project for the community. So at this point, I'll just thank you, and I urge your favorable consideration. And we also have Mr. Jim Askey, the applicant's planning and engineering consultant for the project. He's here. I believe he has a few comments as well. And after he's done, we'll both be available to answer any questions you may have. So thank you for your time.
Thank you. Would you like to speak to the council?
I got to pull this down a bit. Jimmy Askey with Askey Huey. We're the planning and engineering consultant on this job, and Melissa did a fine job presenting. I don't really have anything really to add unless y'all might have some questions. So we just ask you for your approval tonight on both the land use ordinance and the zoning ordinance.
Thanks, sir. Would anyone in the audience like to speak to these items? If not, we'll have discussion and a motion by council. In regard to item number 7, do we have any discussion? Could I entertain a motion?
Motion to approve.
We have a motion for Councilman Urban for the approval of ordinance 2022-47. Do I have a second? Have a second from the mayor. Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Councilmember Gilbert,
Nay.
Councilmember Fletcher,
Nay.
Deputy Mayor Matheny,
No.
Councilmember Urban,
Aye.
Mayor Blackwell.
Aye.
Motion dies. Motion fails. 2-3.
Mr. Manzares?
Again, this is the comp plan change, so with, with the denial of that comp plan and for failing, I guess, to meet the goals that are set forth in the comp plan, you do not need to take action on the zoning map amendment.
Do you have anything else for us?
No, sir.
Then we need to act on,
No, you don't.
don't need to act on the next one, do we not? Thank you, then the items have been denied. Brings us to item number 8, Madam Clerk.
Resolution number 2022-220R, a resolution of the City Council of the City of St. Cloud, Florida, amending resolution number 2021-223R, which adopted the fiscal year 2021-2022 budget for the City of St. Cloud, finding the city manager has certified there are prior year fund balances and/or current revenues available in the budget for additional projects and programs in various funds not included in the original 2021-2022 budget, requiring the budget to be increased to include said additional fundings in the various funds and making supplemental appropriations within the funds.
Good evening, Wendy Colazzo, Finance Director. Providing you here in front of you 2022-220 Romeo as per City Code 2-2212. These are the amendments of adoption. Of course, during the fiscal year, if the city manager certifies that there are available appropriations, revenues in excess of those estimated by the budget, the City Council may, by of course this resolution, make supplemental appropriations for the year and up to the amount of each excess. The city manager has certified funds that are available and to appropriate to such funds, and this budget amendment meets the city's strategic plan goal for financial sustainability. We're going to slow it down a little bit. Sorry about that. This is your budget amendment number 6, finalizing your fiscal year 21-22. In your general fund, there is a net increase of 0. That increased police department expenditures in the categories of salaries and wages by the quantity of $65,000. This is for special pay by $65,000 and employer FICA by $45,000. And decreasing building maintenance expenditures for repairs and maintenance by $175,000 to cover the cost of the longevity pay and adjustments and additional Hurricane Ian cost in those categories. In the 1%, and if you have any questions, please stop me and I will be more than happy to answer them. In the 1% surcharge fund, there is 0 increase. This is because of decrease in expenditures in the category of buildings by $36,000 and fire department machinery and equipment categories by $2,267,927. We increased expenditures in the categories of intergovernmental transfers by $2,267,927 for the purchase of a ladder truck and pumper truck. In the public works machinery and equipment category by $23,000, and parks and recreation also in machinery and equipment by $13,000. This is to cover price increases. In the capital fund project, this is your 300 fund, $2,267,927 in increase. This is an increase to revenue for the intergovernmental transfers of that quantity of $2,267,927. This increase is to expenditures for the project Papa Sierra 2201 for ladder trucks by the amount of $1,568,483. And project number Papa Sierra 2202, that is your pumper truck, by $699,444. Moving on, increasing expenditures for intergovernmental transfers by $445,000 and decreasing expenditures for contractual services. This is to remove water sewer, the portion of those projects in Papa Whiskey 1702, Stevens Road North. Decreasing revenue from intergovernmental transfers, that's by $950,000, and decreasing expenditures by land by $950,000. This is for project number Papa Romeo 2203. This is for future land purchases, which is not proceeding at this time. In the mobility fee, net increase of 0, decreasing contingency by $3,300, and increasing expenditures for contributions and other governance by $3,300 in support of the Nova Road agreement with Osceola County. These are the final true-ups of those accounts and the payments we made to that, and this is finalized and trued up for your accounts in the mobility fee fund. In the sanitation fund, $1,220,000 increase overall. This is due to revenue. We're increasing in prior year fund balance by $410,000. Dumpster fees by $260,000. And this is for landfill fees. Non-cities by $550,000. The increases in expenditure are for contractual services in the quantity of $550,000, vehicle maintenance $500,000, and vehicle fuel $170,000. This is a result of those additional revenues and expenditures and those budgeted amounts. In the self-insurance workers' comp fund, $45,100. This is an increase from prior year fund balance by such amount of $45,100. This is to increase professional services, medical care expenditures by $45,100, and this is to add budget for a large workers' comp claim that was received in September of 2022 as we close down the fiscal year. Staff is recommending approval of resolution number 2022-220R and requesting City Council's action to approve the same.
Thank you.
Yes,
Would
sir.
anyone in the audience like to speak to this item? If not, we'll have discussion and a motion by council.
So moved.
We have a motion from Councilmember Matheny. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second from Councilmember Fletcher. Madam Clerk?
Councilmember Fletcher.
Aye.
Deputy Mayor Matheny.
Aye.
Councilmember Urban.
Aye.
Councilmember Gilbert.
Aye.
Mayor Blackwell.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0.
Madam Clerk, if you read item number 9.
Resolution number 2022-281R, a resolution of the City Council of the City of St. Cloud, Florida, amending resolution number 2022-188R, which adopted the fiscal year 2022-2023 budget for the City of St. Cloud, finding the city manager has certified there are prior year fund balances and/or current revenues available in the budget for additional projects and programs in various funds not included in the original budget, requiring the budget to be increased to include said additional fundings in the various funds and making supplemental appropriations within the funds.
Good evening again, Wendy Colazzo, Finance Director. So as we move, this is your budget amendment number 1 for fiscal year 22-23, which of course opened up October 1st of 2022. Resolution number 2022-281R is the same as per City Code 2-212, again certifying that there are funds available and appropriate to budget these funds and amendments, and follows the city's strategic plan of the goal of financial sustainability. Beginning with the general fund, we have a $113,600 increase. We're increasing prior year fund balance to increase expenditures for the police department in the categories of machinery and equipment for that such amount of $113,600. The fiscal year 21-22 budgeted purchase for the police boat was unable to be completed as of and/or prior to September 30th, and now will be completed this fiscal year, hence the increase. In the 1% surcharge, $74,116 in increase. This is in the categories for revenue of prior year fund balance and increase in machinery and equipment on the expenditure inverse side in police, fire, EMS by a total of $74,116. Prices of those budgeted vehicles listed in those categories have continued to increase since the fiscal year 22-23 budget was reviewed and approved, hence this increase. In the capital funds project, $1,750,000 increase from intergovernmental transfers. in the quantities of $1,350,000 and state grants by $400,000. This was with the purpose to increase expenditures for projects number Papa Romeo 1906 Trail Extension Lake to Chisholm by $400,000, and project number Papa Romeo 2204 Florida Avenue renovation in the quantity of $1,350,000. In the mobility fee, $1,350,000 increase. This is revenue from prior year fund balance and increasing expenditures on the inverse side for the category of intergovernmental transfers by $1,350,000 for additional funding for such project Papa Romeo 2004 Florida Avenue renovation. Water fund, $5,371,718, an increase from revenue prior in the category of prior year fund balance by $5,371,718. This is to decrease contingency expenditures by $4,628,282 and increase expenditures as well for non-operating uses by $10 million. This is needed for the completed transfer of cash balances from the City of St. Cloud to Toho Water Authority. In the sewer fund, $7,118,843, an increase from prior year fund balance on the revenue side in the quantity mentioned, decreasing contingency and expenditures by $4,881,157. We're going to increase expenditures for non-operating uses by $12 million. Again, this is needed to complete the transfer of cash from the City of St. Cloud to Toho Water Authority. Sanitation fund, $935,000 increase from prior year fund balance by $409,000. We're increasing revenue in the insurance proceeds category by $526,000, and then increasing expenditures for buildings by $935,000 to cover the cost of the repairs for the transfer station. This was caused by that 2021 fire, if you recall. In the stormwater category, stay with me, we're almost there, I guarantee it. $884,000, increase in prior year fund balance. We're increasing expenditures for contractual services by $884,000 to add funding for project number Sierra Whiskey 2006. This is your Illinois Avenue piping. There's a grant, of course, in place that will reimburse the city for these costs as expenditures come on in. In the building fund, we have no net increase overall, but we're decreasing contingency by $50,000 and increasing expenditures in the category of professional services by $50,000. This is to add funding for project number Bravo Mike 2100. This is your City Hall atrium. This is needed to cover additional owner's technical representative cost. Okay. In the water impact fee, $40,770,500 increase. This is from prior year fund balance. In the quantity of $40,770,500. We're going to decrease contingency on the expenditure side by $4,229,500, and then increasing expenditures for non-operating uses in the quantity of $45 million. This is needed again for the completion of cash balances for the City of St. Cloud to Toho Water Authority. What we do to one, we do to another. So here comes sewer impact fee fund, same thing, $44,366,668. This is the increase from prior year fund balance. We're decreasing contingency expenditures in the quantity of $5,633,332. We're going to increase expenditures in non-operating uses by $50 million, and that's million. This is needed to complete the transfer again of the cash balances from the City of St. Cloud to Toho Water Authority. We are requesting approval for resolution number 2022-281 Romeo and requesting that you approve the same resolution. I am here to answer any questions you so may have.
Thank you. Would anyone in the audience like to speak to this item? If not, we'll have discussion and a motion by council.
So moved.
We have a motion from Councilmember Matheny, a second from the mayor. Madam Clerk?
Deputy Mayor Matheny?
Aye.
Councilmember Urban?
Aye.
Councilmember Gilbert?
Aye.
Councilmember Fletcher?
Aye.
Mayor Blackwell?
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0.
Madam Clerk, if you'll read item number 10.
Resolution number 2022-295R, a resolution of the City Council of the City of St. Cloud, Florida, granting a conditional use for a parochial school identified as St. Cloud Christian Preparatory School located at 2500 Canoe Creek Road, St. Cloud, Florida, as described in the body of this resolution.
Good evening, Dagmary Segarra, Planning Manager. This in front of you is a request for a conditional use for a Christian church, parochial church, located on North Nolte Road, west of Canoe Creek Road, and it's a conditional use. Staff requests approval. Recommendation is approval. In August of 2020, the Planning Commission approved the first request for the conditional use under Resolution 2020-144. In September 10, the city of that same year, the City Council reviewed the conditional use, and it was continued to the November 12, 2020 meeting. At that meeting, it was approved with several conditions, including the following conditions. The entrance should be a right in and right out only for traffic to flow based on open City Council discussion. Subsequently, the city approved the site plan for the school on December 2021. On May of 2022, a site plan modification was received by the city, amending the connection to Canoe Creek from the southeast to the northeast corner of the property. The change came due to the approval of Osceola County review of the traffic impact analysis that require to maintain a right-of-way requiring a left-in entrance to the property. Because of this change, the approved site plan had to be amended. On the resolution of 22-295, it represents the same, on this resolution that we're presenting tonight, it represents the same conditional use that was approved in 2020, but we are requesting to remove the condition that states that the entrance should be a right in and right out only for traffic to flow, to be consistent with the improvements that the Osceola County approved under SDP, and therefore the SDP modification approval. The subject property has a future land use designation of low-density residential, and the property is located within the agricultural zoning, which allows this type of uses as conditional use. Here is the depiction of the site plan that was approved in 2021 by City Council. As you can see, there, the entrance to the school is to the south of the property. And here, there's a depiction of the modification that moves the entrance to the north in alliance or in compliance with the approval from Osceola County. Bear to mention that Canoe Creek Road, it is a county road, therefore they have to have the approval through the county to make any modifications to the road, and that therefore the amendment to the site plan. It meets the strategic goals of economic development and growth management. Staff recommends approval of the resolution 22-295, and it is requested of City Council to approve the same with the conditions. The conditions that originally were stated, they are going to be transferred to this resolution, but with the differences that the fourth condition be striked out and to read as follow. For as long as the permitted herender continues, in the event of that the stacking or standing of vehicles encroaches into the public right-of-way or otherwise interferes with flow of vehicular traffic as determined by the city, the resolution may be brought back before the City Council for review and consideration of additional conditions to address traffic issues or possible revocation of the rights granted herended. Basically, in short, if it's not working out, the condition of approval may be revoked and will need to come back to the City Council. And that concludes my presentation. The applicant is here to answer any questions, and I'll be also available to answer any questions.
Would the applicant like to speak to the council? I take it not. Come on, let's go.
I just want to thank the council. We got about 250 students and 25 staff that have been waiting for their school since May, and it's right there ready to go. I want to say our school's the Chick-fil-A of pick up and drop off. and that we're not Culver's. And it's not just because this has the biggest parking lot of any of our 10 campuses with about half the students. It's preparation. We put our team, for number one reason, safety. Never can have a kid get bumped by a car. But number two, we realized a long time ago, the parents are a lot easier to deal with. They can get in, get their kids, and get out. And part of the reason we're so successful is in the morning, we give free before care starting at 6 a.m. So they can drop off from 6 to 8. And it's very, very fluid and flowing. We calculate on our busiest day at 2:30 that parents cannot pick up from 2 to 2:30 because we got busing. And they can't even come on campus. But at 2:30, we get about 30 cars in that 30 minutes. And it's pretty staggered. Not they're waiting an hour for their kid to get out. And we have staff on a radio with their car tags that they call the students in, and they're waiting for the parents, and the parents aren't waiting for the kids. They got their backpacks on, ready to go at 2:30 to leave. We're good at this, really good. And we actually got a document, I have it with me if anybody wants to see it. The parents must sign before they're given their car tag. And then that document says a couple of things. One of them is safety, and another one is they are never, ever, ever to park on the right-of-way or back up in the road. We will go over this in open house before we open, and I will guarantee, as a resident of St. Cloud, and most of our board of directors are residents, we just worked out the way, over half of the 15 board of directors are residents, that you will never have a problem with car stacking in the road. I guarantee it. And I welcome everybody here to come see what we do, because I believe we do something that's special. Just like if you went to Chick-fil-A, you'd know, how did they get the world record in getting cars through? There's things we do. We're prepared. We're not just saying waiting for things. So for any other questions, I'd love to answer them. We're excited to get in our brand new school, and I think you guys can relate to that a little bit. And we're, you know, busing 250 kids and 25 staff to our other 4 schools in Kissimmee is tough. And I think you can understand that toughness. But I guarantee you will never, ever, ever have a problem with this. And you're welcome to come by any time to see what we do.
Thank you. If you'll stand by. In case we
Mayor,
have questions.
I'm not sure we caught the gentleman's name.
Oh, I'm sorry, Pete Baldwin.
Tell that lovely lady over there.
I don't do this.
Okay.
It's Pete Baldwin, and I'm the one of the.
And you give your address, please.
My address is 2930 Marjorie Road, St. Cloud.
Thank you. If you'll stand by, please.
Yes, sir.
We have public comment at this time. Juan Hernandez.
Okay.
Good evening. Juan Hernandez, 2224 Tybee Road in St. Cloud. So I came to know a little bit about, the school, right 50 feet from my bedroom window, 40, 50 feet. So I just had the gentleman saying 250 kids, 6 o'clock in the morning. So, how much that's going to be impacting our neighborhood, especially the houses right behind the school. For the last year or so, it's been ongoing construction for 5, 6 o'clock in the morning, and at this point we don't even know if the school's going to be fenced. It hasn't been no movement, no that I can see. My backyard is just right next to the school backyard. So, it's kind of disappointing that, I don't know how much commotion or movement they're going to have in the backyard, facing our houses. So that's what I needed to say.
Thank you. Would you like to address that? Fencing, noise, activity?
Well, first of all, I apologize if the constructions took longer than we anticipated either also. But the really cool thing about our school, where you are at, you're on the south side, is there's nothing going to happen on that because it's not an open area. But what's really good is we have a center courtyard. I don't know if anybody's seen the design of it. all the kids are in there, and that gives it's a long ways, and all the play area is on the north side, that's outside. And but there's basically 4 long skinny parts, and then the center's the courtyard. That's where the kids play, it's all locked in. And I really think you're gonna be happy with the noise and so forth. And we wanna be a great neighbor. And if, we would welcome you to come over anytime.
Sir, I need you to talk to council, okay?
Thank you, I'm not good at this, so I was trying to address that. But we want to be a good neighbor, and if there's things that need to be better, we will be more than happy to be that good neighbor. But I really believe, as far as noise and school commotion and so forth, it's a great design for that neighborhood where it won't be an issue, because they won't be playing on the outside. There's 16 feet of buildings between, and then plus the buffer. There's a large buffer between the buildings and the neighborhood.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Councilmember Matheny, is there anyone else that would like to comment from the public? Any other public comment?
I'm part of the applicant team. Do I need to wait?
Sir,
I'm part of the applicant team. He's the owner. Can I speak now or?
would you please step up, please? Would you like to speak? State your name and address for the record.
Brian Forster with Land Design, 100 South Orange Avenue, Orlando, Florida, 32810. I just wanted to address the question. The original conditional use that staff summarized extremely well did have conditions of approval that included buffering to the south. It included required landscape. There will be a CMU wall. I believe it's 10 feet. 6 feet high, that will provide some sound and some visual buffer to the residential and to the south. We did want to say that we appreciate staff working with us. This was kind of a curveball that the county threw at us pretty late in the game. We were actually already under construction when we learned we needed to move the driveway, not to the county's fault, but more for our timing. And we are supportive of the condition 4 that was added to the report, so I just wanted to mention that. So thank you.
Thank you. Would anyone else in the audience like to speak to this item? If not, we'll move to the council at this time. Councilmember Matheny.
Thank you. So Dagmar gave a good summary of this, but I want to tell my summary of it. So I told them when they came that I'm not opposed to their school. I was opposed to the location. I didn't think this was the right road for it to be on. I thought it was going to mess traffic up. We all know, if you guys have 0 parents doing crazy things, that'll be a miracle, because we all see it. They, stop on the side of the road, run into neighborhoods, do all kinds of things. I adamantly oppose this location, not the school, but the location. And I didn't come out on the winning end of that argument. And so one of the things that we put in there was this right in, right out, was to try to prevent, left turning movements and crossing the medians to try to help with the traffic. This was a condition that we put in there. So I guess I want to ask the city attorney, I feel like we're in a bad situation here now because the building's built, and then now that we're getting this comment from the county. So is the city not allowed to wait? I know there was some legislative changes that happened, but back in the day, you would say, okay, you can't start construction until you have your South Florida permit, until you have this, until you have that. Is the city not, I guess, how did we get into this predicament that they've got the building built, and then now they're putting us in this place? The other thing is, you tell me 250 students. I just feel like we have stacking for like 83. This is, I just don't feel good about this. I didn't feel good about it when it got approved, and then this makes me feel worse about it. And then I'm just like, we're kind of putting this what's already built. Now, I know the city manager said, well, we'll put a condition in here that if the traffic becomes a problem, then it can come back. However, we talked about that when it came, and we all know once the school opens, we're never pulling the conditional use. Like, politically, we're never going to be able to pull that. So I just don't like the situation that we're put into, and I don't like the northbound left turn, because that's just going to further impact traffic, potentially back it up through the signal. I don't know where we go from here, because we're kind of in this bad spot. And so I guess my first question is, should the city have waited until they had, so the applicant admitted themselves that it was bad timing on their part to go to the county now. So
I'm not sure, and I'd have to look further into it, whether the city had any ability to deny an application related to the permit based on this particular issue.
Yeah, I know that legislative changes happen and it became like a chicken and an egg, like
Yeah.
you couldn't hold
The
things.
things with, things like stormwater permits and those kind of
Right.
things are a little different because those are directly tied to the, you know, the construction piece of the vertical improvements. So, I'm not sure, we'd have to look, I don't understand, I
Right.
don't know the timing of this and when the permit was approved by the city for the construction versus where they were going to the county and what the county's position was.
Right.
I think one of the things we have learned from this particular example is that when we put a condition in a conditional use like this that requires another jurisdictional entity to make a decision, that we probably need to vet that out a little bit more and put a little bit more flexibility into the conditional use
Yeah.
permit. You know, in this particular instance, because you do feel strongly about it, and I know some of the other council members do too, probably, you know, maybe a compromise now is to add some language to this conditional use that basically says, we'll put the provision in there if it's approved by the county, and then let's do some discussion with the county to see if there's a way that we can convince them that maybe that left turn piece isn't a good idea.
Well, I did talk to the director of Transportation Transit briefly about it, and, you know, he was looking at it in a different light than we were looking at it. I mean, so I'm not supporting this amendment, so I don't know if we want, you know, I don't know how the other council members feel, we could go to a vote, but I'm like, you gotta come up with some better solution to me than a northbound left turn that's gonna run into the intersection of Nolte. I mean, so I'll make a motion for denial.
We have a motion for denial.
And could I, with that, and I don't know where the rest of the council is, but it may be, given the position, this might be worth a little bit more discussion with the county from the city staff side to address that. I think you've pointed out the obvious piece that this is a little tenuous with the fact that they've gone so far in their construction piece of it all, and I think the current condition, based on the county's current position, basically makes it impossible for them to comply with the conditional use permit. So we're kind of in a tough spot. So if the council members agree with, are tending to agree with Councilwoman Matheny's discussion, which I'm not saying you shouldn't, maybe we can work. Maybe we should spend a little bit more time and see
Yeah,
what
I'm
we can do.
okay if
from
they
the
wanna
out-
withdraw it, but.
Well, why don't we, if it's okay, we can maybe continue it to the December 8th meeting.
Can we respond a little bit to the?
That's entirely up to the mayor.
Would you please step, what did you say? Please step to the mic.
I just wanted to give a little bit of background. I'm sure you've done.
Please step up to the mic, please.
Sorry, I'm sure you've done the research and you've probably read the report that we submitted to the county, but, you know, when you do a right-of-way permit at Osceola County, as I'm sure you're very familiar with, you prepare a TIA, which we submitted, and that TIA showed that the majority of the trips that would come to the school would be coming from the south. So we were creating an unsafe condition by proposing a right-in, right-out, because cars would have to travel further north, do a U-turn, and then come back, which I don't think anyone was going to want cars entering the subdivisions on the east side of Canoe Creek Road to make U-turns and driveways. So, I mean, we feel, and the county felt very strongly, that adding a left turn lane, pushing the driveway north was creating a far safer condition. Allowed a couple cars to stack in the turn lane before they entered the property. You know, as Pete said, we're not expecting 100 cars within 20 minutes. We're expecting, 100 cars over a 2-hour period. So we're not expecting that turn lane to ever have more than 1 or 2 cars in it. We're not expecting any stacking within the parking lot. We're expecting no more than 10 to 20 cars at a time. So I just wanted to give a little bit of background. Understand the history on this, but we feel that this is a safer solution than the conditional. I realize the conditional use was approved with a crayon site plan, so a lot of information has gone into it since that day 2 years ago. But just want to offer a little background.
I have other council members that have wanted to speak, so if you'll hold your motion, please, so they have an opportunity to speak, because I normally let everybody speak. Councilmember Gilbert.
Councilwoman Matheny asked my question.
Councilmember Fletcher.
I'm glad that you brought that up, because I was actually going to ask your expertise on that. I don't like the turn lane situation, the change. I brought that up in my briefing, and I kind of agree with the city attorney. I think we should see if we can work with the county a little bit to see if we can maybe work something out. Because if we deny the conditional use, then now they have a building that's not able to be used as a school. So that's kind of where I'm at.
Yes, I'll let you speak.
Thank you. Just a suggestion. 250 kids being bused to Osceola County and 25 residents of being bused to Kissimmee and 25 staff. Allow the students to attend. And then we would have proof of concept. And when the next meeting comes around, if there's an issue, we'll be 100% compliant. We're not trying to, we didn't make the decision, the county did. But why stop business from happening in St. Cloud and these kids attend school? But in that time frame, if we happen to open and then we get a few weeks in, we say, you know what, guys, this isn't working. We'll go to the drawing board, we'll pay whatever it takes, we'll do whatever it takes to make it right. But why make these kids have to travel with the traffic an hour to Kissimmee, maybe exaggerating only a little bit, and be unhappy and staff go there? So that'd be my ask to allow it to happen. And we would be a full compliance to do whatever it takes to make it right if it does not work. If it works and everybody's happy, then we're good.
When is your estimated, like, when are you opening?
Our general contractor. I'm Peter Reichak. I work with MEC General Contractors. I'm the PM on the project. We are anticipating to be getting TCO next week on Wednesday before Thanksgiving. And then once the as-built are submitted to land design, the civil engineer, he'll work with the engineering firm at the City of St. Cloud, and we'll take 2 more weeks to get CO. So we're about 97 or 98% completed with the project.
Councilor Matheny.
Thank you. So the thing that frustrates me is if this had happened in the proper order, they would have gone to the county and then we would have had this issue and potentially the building wouldn't have been built and they would have found a different site. But now we're in this pickle. I mean, I'll withdraw my motion if there's to go back and discuss things more with the county. But I am not of favor of letting it open and getting the kids in there and then yanking them out, I think we need to get it resolved before it gets opened personally.
Yes, would you like to speak?
Yes, please. My name is Fox Baldwin. I'm the principal at the St. Cloud Christian Preparatory School. Something that came up today is something that I've been asking myself as I drive by it every day. I just purchased a property or a house at 4740 Cypress Forest Lane, which happens to be on the end that would require a left-hand turning lane when I'd go there. I actually bought a house 0.3 miles from the school, knowing it was being built there. My kids already started school there this year, so it's been pretty cool. Even though they're being bused to Kissimmee, he's still a part of it, and it's pretty exciting. When I drive to work, I was driving by it the other day, I went, for me to get in there, even though I live 0.3 miles away, I either have to turn left on Nolte, go up Bunneager, come all the way around and come back in for a right-hand turn. Because actually, from my understanding, I didn't even know, I was asked to come here, but I'm just the principal at a school. Didn't even know that left-hand turn thing had changed, which for me, I go, whew. Now I'm like, if that's an option for me and anybody else coming from that direction, a lot safer, less time on the road, a lot safer, to be able to have the option to turn into there. I have a friend, actually an old wrestling coach that lives in one of the neighborhoods on the right, and I was like, maybe I can convince him that I can come by his house in the morning, get some coffee, and then I can come out the neighborhood and turn in and take a right-hand turn in, or, get what I'm saying. But ultimately, that's what people ended up doing. And it just came up, I was like, wow, I've actually been wondering this exact question. How would I get in there? And I'm talking to somebody about it. They're like, left on Nolte, up Bunninger, all the way around. I was like, yeah, that's it. And so it's kind of interesting that this came up tonight. And I just want to share from my perspective, the only person coming from that direction that probably has thought about it at all, I was sharing what my thought process already was, especially a parent trying to get to work, drop their kids off. What avenues are they going to try to find a way to get in? So this is, to me, that cares more about safety of those kids than probably anybody in that school. Being a principal there and a father of students in that school, want this to be as safe as possible, and this sounds a lot safer to me, just from my experience and understanding. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Matheny, your light's still on. Mr. Manzares, can you give us some enlightenment here?
Well, obviously, there is a real concern as to where this project is in the current status, and that is going to be a big issue. So again, short of if the council at this point is not willing to accept the amendment the way it is, then the only suggestion I would have is to see if we can prevail upon the county to either change it or provide some more information as to the appropriateness of this left turn piece and move it to your December 8th meeting so that we can get a chance to maybe bring some more information back to the council.
Do you need a motion for that? Can we
Yes,
just-
sir.
Well, I'll withdraw my denial and make a motion to move it to the December 8th, so we said, meeting. Go back and talk to the county and see if there's maybe more comprehensive improvements to be made to Canoe Creek to make this a better situation.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmember Urban?
Aye.
Councilmember Gilbert?
Aye.
Councilmember Fletcher?
Aye.
Deputy Mayor Matheny?
Aye.
Mayor Blackwell?
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0.
Thanks, sir.
Just ask one question?
You can on
Please step-
December 8th.
Well, it can be off the record or anything.
Okay.
There's no off the record.
Well, I'm just saying, not to, I know the decision's made.
Well,
Yeah,
decision
we've
has
made a
been
decision, sir.
Yeah, I'm not trying to change the decision.
We can talk at the end.
Yeah.
Okay, we're done, okay? Thank you. Madam Clerk, brings us to council action. Will you please read item number 1?
Resolution number 2022-267R, a resolution of the City Council of the City of St. Cloud, Florida, determining the lowest responsible bidder who bid in reasonable and otherwise in the best interest of the City of St. Cloud and the award thereof in regards to invitation to bid ITB number 2022-228 to Shenandoah General Construction LLC, whose subject matter is DEO Illinois Pipelining Project rebid, establishing a contingency, authorizing the city manager to approve change orders without increasing the approved budget, and providing an effective date.
Good evening, Kevin Felblinger, Public Works Director. This is a award of a contract. The reason why it's on council action is that the money for this project was just approved with budget amendment number 1 for this year. Like I said, this is an award for $1.7 million approximately with a 10% contingency on it. It is to line the metal pipes along Illinois Avenue, and there is a grant associated with this. If anybody has any questions, I'll be glad to answer them.
Thank you. Would anyone in the audience like to speak to this item? If not, we'll have discussion. Motion by council. Councilmember Matheny.
Mr. Felblinger, you and your staff deserve a kudos for this kind of a grant application. It is a major undertaking, I am aware, and the reporting and just the whole 9 yards is a lot of work. So kudos to you on this, and I'll make a motion to approve.
Have a motion from Councilmember Matheny for approval. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second, Councilmember Gilbert. Madam Clerk?
Councilmember Gilbert?
Aye.
Councilmember Fletcher?
Aye.
Deputy Mayor Matheny?
Aye.
Councilmember Urban?
Aye.
Mayor Blackwell?
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you.
Thank you.
If you read item number 2.
Resolution number 2022-275R, a resolution of the City Council of the City of St. Cloud, Florida, authorizing the city manager to enter into a task authorization to the agreement for construction manager at risk services for projects less than $4 million in value with Quinn Commercial, Inc. for transfer station building repairs, establishing a guaranteed maximum price, authorizing the city manager to approve change orders without increasing the approved budget, and providing an effective date.
Kevin Felblinger, Public Works Director. Like I said, this is another one that was just approved on budget amendment number 1 for the amount for this. This is, we have a current insurance claim for a fire that happened at our transfer station about 2 years ago. Currently, we have received $100,000 from the insurance carrier. We have a $25,000 deductible, and the final amount that we'll receive back from the insurance carrier is still to be determined. If you have any questions, I'll be glad to answer them.
Thank you. Would anyone in the audience like to speak to this item? If not, we'll have discussion and a motion by council.
So moved.
I'll second that. Madam Clerk, motion by Councilmember Matheny, second by the mayor. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmember Fletcher.
Aye.
Deputy Mayor Matheny.
Aye.
Councilmember Urban.
Aye.
Councilmember Gilbert.
Aye.
Mayor Blackwell.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item number 3.
Resolution number 2022-289R, a resolution of the City of St. Cloud, Florida, authorizing and directing the city manager to transfer to Toho Water Authority all cash, funds, and deposits, including bond sinking fund amounts, development fees, system development charges, impact fees, and any other funds paid to the City of St. Cloud.
Good evening again to Council. Wendy Colazzo, Finance Director. In front of you is Resolution Number 2022-289R. This is to request the direct and authorize the city manager to transfer funds to the Toho Water Authority, also known as just simply Toho. This will authorize transfer of all cash funds deposits related to environmental utilities to Toho. This council action is requesting a maximum transfer of an estimated and up to $150 million. If this resolution were to adopt today, the first tranche would be a tranche of $40 million, and then quarterly intervals until reaching the estimated $150 million. To provide you a background, obviously the city entered into an interlocal agreement with Toho Water Authority on February 10th, 2022. This is which Toho would undertake the management and operations of the St. Cloud water, wastewater, and reclaimed water utility systems. Per the definition of Section 2.7.4, all cash funds and deposits related to the environmental utility will be transferred to Toho. To provide additional background, the opportunity exists pursuant to this agreement for St. Cloud and Toho to further their common goal of providing high-quality, safe water, wastewater, and reclaimed water utility service through a cooperative agreement whereby Toho would undertake management and operation of St. Cloud's water, wastewater, and reclaimed water utility system, and thereby maximize for St. Cloud Toho and their respective customer bases cost-efficient, reliable, and sustainable use of available system assets and resources. We are requesting approval of Resolution 2022-289R.
Is there anyone in the audience who'd like to speak to this item? If not, we'll have discussion and/or motion by council.
So moved.
We have a motion from Councilmember Matheny,
Second.
second from Councilmember Urban. Madam Clerk?
Deputy Mayor Matheny.
Aye.
Councilmember Urban.
Aye.
Councilmember Gilbert.
Aye.
Councilmember Fletcher.
Aye.
Mayor Blackwell.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you.
Brings to item number 4.
Discussion and possible action regarding appointment to Planning Commission vacancy.
Madam Clerk?
Yes, this is for alternate seat 1. And we did review the bylaws, and we can move the alternate 2 to alternate 1, and then council can appoint alternate 2 for the seat, if they so choose. And then you have the residents on the bottom. You have the ones who have asked us for first, second, and third choice. And is at large appointment, so any council member can appoint.
Right. Councilmember Matheny.
I just had a process and procedure question that the clerk just addressed in my agenda review. I said, could we create an automated system where Alt-2 rolls to Alt-1, or if somebody leaves out of the 5 seats, we automatically roll up? Because, I think that's the whole point, right? Alt-1 is a better position than Alt-2, so just automatically on all of our boards, if council agrees, just automatically roll people up. So that we don't have to do this at every meeting and have this conversation. Should we move it?
That would be a question for Dan, but I believe it's based on the bylaws, what the bylaws permit.
Well, if you're talking about positions that have alternate positions, there's not a lot of your boards that have alternate permissions. So
Seems
we
like
can-
they all do.
No, not all.
A few of them do.
A few of them. Well, we can make sure the bylaws and put that are in there, or we can just, the council can establish that as far as its process.
I just think it would be nice just to automatically roll it up so that people can move up and get into a voting position. But
We can do that going forward.
okay, I don't have a pick for this.
Do we have any other discussion from council? Well, I shall make a motion that, is it Nanette Douglas be moved up to alternate 1, and that Russell Alexander, who was the first choice, be appointed to alternate 2 position. Is that correct?
Yes.
Could I have a second?
Second.
Madam Clerk?
Councilmember Urban?
Aye.
Councilmember Gilbert?
Aye.
Councilmember Fletcher?
Aye.
Deputy Mayor Matheny? Mayor Blackwell?
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0.
Mr. Manzares?
I do not have anything, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
City Manager Miller?
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, I have a few items. First, I just wanted to give the City Council a brief update on Hurricane Nicole, which we recently had since the last meeting. Great kudos to our staff. They operated like a well-oiled machine. Everybody knew exactly where to go, what to do, and handled everything. So, they're tired, but they've done a great job. We had minor damage to 6 facilities only. Bigger item that I need to discuss with the City Council, late this afternoon, Representative Arrington sent me a message that the Osceola Legislative Delegation is scheduled for Thursday, December 8th at 9 a.m. I have not received the official notification yet. However, we have not discussed what our legislative priorities may be for this year. I have a meeting scheduled with Mr. Carmody where I was going to start discussing with him some of these things. However, based on that, I gave him a call this afternoon so I could hopefully get a little direction from the City Council. Last year, we did ask for Chisholm Park funding. It was a $5 million project at the time. Our request was $1 million. The governor vetoed it. However, Mr. Carmody did say that he thought that that would be a good project that we could resubmit should we want to. He also said other good projects would be those that the cost of the items has increased due to the current economic situation of the country. So I was discussing this with our finance director, Ms. Colazzo, later on, and she mentioned that the fire truck cost has gone up about $40,000, and our fire station cost has gone from $5 million closer to $10 million. Our training center from $2 million closer to $5 million. Our trail from Lakefront to Chisholm Park has gone up $400,000. And the cost of asphalt has also gone up. So we have some great projects like that. If the City Council would like to proceed, I did ask Mr. Carmody if we could ask the legislature to fund a fire station because we do have multiple planned. He said that in the last session, they vetoed all of the city fire stations and approved all the county fire stations. So he said he would look into why that was, but he thought it had to be regarding the millage. And the only other good projects, he said, would be resiliency projects, especially stormwater based on the hurricane. I just haven't had an opportunity to sit down with Mr. Felblinger and go over some of those options. We've been talking about Blackberry. We've been talking about the 2nd Street ditch. So I'd like to ask first if the mayor will come with me to that meeting, and also if, and I do see that our new representative, Ms. Stark, is in the room, so welcome. If the council would be supportive of us asking for Chisholm Park again, and also the additional costs for those fire facilities.
I certainly think all the items that you've listed and more that I'm sure you could probably come up with would certainly be viable issues. And certainly would be wise to sit down with Carmody and to pick his mind. But I'm certainly think we would be supportive of coming up with that list of things that you just talked about. Are there any other items that council has any input about? Councilmember Matheny?
So you didn't mention Olay in there, so have we already set legislative priorities with Olay?
No, the meeting was canceled and rescheduled, and it hasn't happened yet. So the session, according to Mr. Carmody, is a little earlier this year. So I think that's causing some
The local
issues.
session or the session in Tallahassee?
Legislative session in Tallahassee, which has moved everything up.
So the other thing is, I heard the city of Kissimmee rejoined Olay.
I hadn't heard that.
This week, they voted to rejoin 3-2. So the city of Kissimmee is back in.
Maybe that's why they canceled and rescheduled the meeting.
But I mean, I guess we're kind of behind the 8 ball on this. I would just ask for you to work with our lobbyists and try to come up with the best options that the city could potentially get partnership.
Councilmember Irvin?
I can't claim I'm the new guy anymore, but this is one of my first times going through this process. Is there anything that we can do to prioritize transportation in our legislative priorities, or is that sort of a separate item that can be addressed elsewhere?
I could work with the county on seeing if they would work together on a joint project. I don't know that we have a project that would be ready to go, but I could talk to the county about that.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. Anyone else? Do you need any additional directions? Sound like you pretty well have your head around this already.
It sounds like the board thought all of those were good ideas and that you were going to trust me and Carmody to pick the best ones when we meet on the 22nd. I'll finalize that with the mayor, and we will be ready for the Osceola delegation.
Is that acceptable?
Okay, thank you.
Sounds good. Thank you. Anyone else? Anything else?
Oh, I'm sorry, one fast item. It just, during the hurricane, we released a new website for the city that is, we're still working on more improvements, but we think it has a great appearance. It makes it a little bit easier to find information. We're going to continue working on that right now, but one of the new highlights on there is that there is our strategic plan on there in a new reporting format that is also there. So we're working to continue improving it. Thank you.
Good. Councilmember Urban?
Just would like to wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving, and fortunately I'll be out of town for our community Thanksgiving event. Won't be able to join the council, but just would like to wish everyone in the community a happy and blessed Thanksgiving.
Councilmember Matheny?
Ditto on the Thanksgiving. I hope everybody has a great one. And I also wanted a chance to welcome the new council members. I didn't get a chance today in the swearing in, but I'm excited you guys are here, and I think look forward to learning from you and hearing your opinions. And I think we need 5 independent decisions, and then it kind of helps us all grow. So I'm looking forward to that. I have 2 fast ones and one that's a little bit longer. So the first one is for the city manager, the lights downtown. It's Christmas right around the corner, and we still don't have lights downtown. I know the squirrels are hungry and they like to eat them, but can we just buy some lights and put them up and then figure the squirrel thing out later?
So I do have an update from Parks and Rec on it that I was just looking at earlier today.
I looked out today and I don't even see a light on.
So the update that I received on Monday is OUC is still currently doing storm damage work and will get the downtown market lighting up as soon as possible.
So OUC does the lights?
Yes.
Okay. And I've been asking this for like 6+ months, I think, about the lights. But
Well, we also took, I guess that's a good point.
I think
We
you probably took 'em
We
down
took them down, so
hurricane.
I need to ask the question if they're putting up new ones or if they're putting up the bad ones.
we need to run to wherever the light store is and get new ones.
Yeah, and I did have the Downtown Business Group, they specifically asked for that today.
Yeah, I mean, that adds to the character and charm, and it's Christmas, and we have the tree lighting coming up soon. The second one is not a piece of good news. I heard today at the county that Neptune and Brown Chapel will be closed until December 9th now. They said it was gonna open the day before Thanksgiving, and then I heard today it's December 9th. There's another delay in construction, so they're dealing with the same issues, that the city is, but that's not exciting news. And then the last piece was, we had some development come through today, and I was talking on my agenda review, like, about the residential architectural standards, and I've been asking and begging for these for 6 years, and here we are. And we adopted something which was just kind of a stopgap to get something recorded. And then now, you know, the city, which it's not a bad idea, but I was just like, I feel like we need to get something in place. Like, don't let, what is it? Good get in the way of perfect. What's the saying? Yeah.
Perfect get in the way of
Don't let
good.
perfect get in the way of good. So then now staff wants to do zones within the city and to architectural standards, which is a great idea, but it's another delay. They're saying it's 6 months. It'll be 2 years before we know it. So talking with them, you know, they had some feelings about other jurisdictions that have got some really good architectural standards. And I said, could we just adopt those? Realizing that these are living documents, right? Like, these are living, breathing documents that are always going to be updated. And so but I want to get something in place. And Mr. Manzares made a suggestion to have an exemption policy added to whichever ones we use. That way, if we got into some kind of predicament, we had a way to, like, maneuver around it. But I wanted to see if other council members were amenable to that idea, to get staff to find some architectural standards they love and get them, like, adopted ASAP.
I'd certainly like to see it. Any
Yes,
other?
I absolutely agree with that. I actually brought that up in my agenda review on some of the projects that were listed on tonight's agenda, and I think it would help out tremendously. I asked, how long was it out when I asked? It was like,
6
was
months.
6 months or something?
They said 6 months, but and then the comment was, then we have to send it to these people to have them bless it, and these people, and these people. I said, well, I don't care what those people want. We just look at the city and we'll adopt it. If you go to different groups, they're all going to say it's too expensive and they can't build it. I mean, that's going to be their knee-jerk reaction. But really kind of what brought it back up to me was, I know we've been trying to do a non-monotony clause, and I drove through Tahokwa, and I was like, goodness, they are so similar.
Every third house.
It's almost like every house. It's like this one has this kind of wood and that one has this kind of wood. Like, and they're all almost the same color. I'm like, geez, this isn't what our intent was, you know? So it looks like we've got people wanting to move this forward.
Yes.
We can still continue with the zones and the
I
districts.
do
but-
like the zones. I do like the
Right,
zones
I
a
like it
lot.
too, but I feel like it's gonna be a year and we're gonna say we're still working on it.
One quick question, though. So previously, the council had directed staff to take all land development code changes through to the St. Cloud Chamber, which hasn't worked well. Can we do away with that
Yes.
policy?
Yes,
And
for
just
me.
start bringing all land development code? It'll make them go faster that way.
Yeah.
Yes,
Okay, thank you.
and we love the chamber.
We do.
We love the chamber.
We do.
But we need to get that going.
So
Right, and
we'll
it's
still
always-
send them
and
to
it-
them when we can. We just won't hold them up.
And you know, things always can be changed and revised and, you know, refined, but we gotta get something in place.
And we won't send them to the Home Builders
Yes, no.
Association.
Okay.
Gotcha.
That's it for me, thank you.
Councilmember Fletcher.
I just wanted to say thank you to staff. It's been a whirlwind for sure, and you guys have been, so awesome, and, giving us the tour of the city and getting to know everything. So I just wanted to say thank you. And then also, I didn't get to say it earlier, thank you to all the voters and everybody who basically put me in this position. And it means a lot, and hopefully, I won't let you down.
Thank you. Councilmember Gilbert.
Ditto on that. I thought staff was wonderful in welcoming everybody from the front door to the back door and everybody in between. what a wonderful, wonderful staff we have, and I look forward to working with it. What a wonderful citizen group we have and the involvement of our citizens, and I also look forward to working hard to help this city and be a problem solver, not a problem maker. So thank you, staff, very much for the warm welcome.
I don't have anything new other than just wishing everyone a blessed Thanksgiving celebration. Hope you'll stay safe and hope you stay healthy. Brings us to our information section, report section, Thursday and Friday, November 24th and 25th. City offices will be closed in observance of the Thanksgiving holiday. Thursday, December the 8th, there will be a city council meeting at 6:30 p.m. here in council chambers. We've issued the following proclamations, one in recognition of Lung Cancer Awareness Month and a proclamation in recognition of Small Business Saturday. Available for your review are warrant list number 1, Economic Development Advisory Committee minutes for June 2022, which have been approved, the Recreation Advisory Committee minutes for August 2022, which have also been approved, and the approval of the Historic Preservation Board minutes for August 2022. There are no other items on our agenda. We will consider ourselves adjourned.